been less than kind. Unimaginative and frustrating, said Hollywood's Bible, Variety magazine. So sickening, I almost brought up my breakfast, said the woke Bible, The Guardian. Or the intimacy of Instagram, sneered the normally timid New York Times. A nauseating self-serving snooze fest, said another pundit. Well, that was me, actually. Another tissue of self-serving lies, mostly, I suspect. We don't know yet, but most of it looks like the Oprah interview, just another load of unsubstantiated smears. It makes them newsworthy. So you either then ignore what people are talking about, are debating and having all the silly stuff about the fake Bible. These two will sell anything about their privacy, and yet they'll fight privacy battle after privacy battle. It's total
I don't agree.
You know, it's very easy, I would argue, to construct an argument. Once you set a precedent for removing titles from people that bring dishonor to the royal family and the monarchy, well, why wouldn't you do the same to Harry and Meghan? Let them go and be.
Piers Morgan did not just argue with Meghan Markle and move on with his career like nothing happened. The fallout exploded across British television in a way people still talk about years later. He stormed off a live broadcast, sparked headlines across the world, and ended up leaving one of the biggest jobs in UK media because he refused to soften his stance on her claims. Most people in television backtrack when pressure starts building. Piers never did. He doubled down over and over again, even when the backlash became massive and celebrities, commentators, and media executives were all piling onto him from every direction. Now, years later, Piers believes the moment he predicted has finally arrived all at once. According to him, the image Meghan spent years carefully building is cracking publicly in real time, and he says the signs are impossible to ignore anymore. This week, Piers laid out what he calls the 10 biggest truths, explaining why Meghan's public narrative is collapsing under its own contradictions. And the first point, according to him,
So I was then told by my bosses, look, by the way, rule one here, never apologize, never clarify, never do anything.
I can verify that, but it doesn't work.
We know this. So we did a clarification the next day, and it made no difference. The complaints kept coming in. And eventually my bosses said, can you just apologize to Meghan Markle, or you're going to have to, maybe lose your job? I went, I'll take the job option, thanks, I'll leave. And I walked off into the sun.
Look what we built. We've built a beautiful life, and we have 2 healthy, beautiful children. And, and I always think about it like the end of Super Mario Brothers, when you get to the final level, and what's the goal in Super Mario? They're like, slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband. He's just out there, just constant, like he's just going to do whatever he can to make sure that our family is safe and protected and we're uplifted and still make time for date nights.
Changes the entire conversation around her marriage, her image, and the life she insists is perfect. The contradiction at the center of everything is the one people online cannot stop talking about. Just weeks ago, Meghan appeared in a soft, carefully staged interview setup with her close friend Jamie Kern-Limmer. The atmosphere looked warm, polished, and extremely controlled. Cozy rocking chairs, calm lighting, no makeup look, soft smiles, emotional storytelling, all designed to project peace and happiness. Meghan looked directly into the camera and said she was living the happiest and most fulfilled chapter of her entire life. She talked about peace, family, growth, and finally feeling free from chaos. But then everything suddenly shifted online in a way that made people pause immediately. On April the 25th, Meghan reposted a message to her millions of followers saying she was closing the hardest 7 years of her life.
Harry and Meghan, the dreariest couple in the history of planet Earth, famously abandoned their royal duties for a life of privacy. They left the goldfish bowl of Great Britain for the camouflage of California, remember? Famously sheltered from the evil British press. And since then, they've kept an incredibly low profile, as they vowed to. If you excuse the massive book deals, the Silicon Valley startups, the preaching videos about well-being, the podcasts, the speeches, and the major network interviews with everyone from Oprah Winfrey to James Corden.
One face for the public and then another face, yeah, there it is. I mean, incredible.
And it's actually
Incredible.
Terrifying. I mean, it is terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, it's just the most awful look. And of course, what's really interesting is, well, why was she so annoyed about it? And what people told me...
7 years. People instantly started counting backward. April 2025 minus 7 years lands directly in 2018, the exact year she married Prince Harry. That timing was impossible for royal watchers to ignore, and Piers Morgan wasted absolutely no time pointing it out publicly. Piers immediately questioned the contradiction. How could someone claim publicly that she is living her happiest life ever, while also sharing a message describing the exact same time period as the hardest years imaginable? According to Piers, this is exactly how Meghan communicates. He has argued for years that she speaks in carefully layered messages that allow her to imply something dramatic without technically saying it outright. That way, if criticism comes later, supporters can always argue people misunderstood her words. But critics online were not buying that defense this time.
Continuing the branding of them being a royal couple. And of course, what is the thing that you're not supposed to do to royalty? You're not supposed to touch them without an invitation.
Never complain and never explain was the late Queen's motto for royal PR. For Harry and Meghan, it's more a case of never reign and never abstain, especially when it comes to nauseating self-publicity, which invariably backfires.
Many people started saying the post felt very intentional, especially because she reposted it more than once on the same day. Piers believes it was a signal. In his view, Meghan was subtly telling the world her marriage brought misery while still publicly maintaining the image of a united couple. That contradiction became one of the biggest talking points online because people could not reconcile the polished public image with the emotional message hidden underneath. Then came the astrologer situation, which Piers says revealed even more about Meghan's inner circle and how she sees herself now. The astrologer behind the viral message was a woman from Las Vegas who openly describes herself online as a ride-or-die astrologer for what she calls hot mess people. After Meghan reposted her content, the astrologer exploded with excitement publicly and referred to Meghan as the Queen herself, while celebrating what she described as Meghan's cosmic comeback era. That single moment created another wave of backlash online. Piers Morgan immediately jumped on it because he says it confirms something he has argued for years. According to him, Meghan surrounds herself with people who constantly reinforce the idea that she is some kind of global queen figure, unfairly denied her throne. He says her public image depends heavily on people around her, treating her less like a former royal and more like a wronged icon destined for a triumphant return. But critics argue the public is becoming exhausted with that message.
She calls herself a princess on her podcast. Little girls have got to make a real princess. You're not a princess. She's not a princess anyway. But they do it quite deliberately to fuel the interest from commercial entities. And really the interest is based on them trashing their family. I mean, without that, I'm not sure what we're interested in. We don't want to hear their woke homilies about life, do we? So I'm not sure how this all plays out, but it's a mess.
Because Meghan cannot continue presenting herself as both royal and anti-royal at the same time. Piers has repeated this point constantly. In his opinion, you either walk away from royal life completely or continue carrying its responsibilities. Trying to claim victimhood while also leaning into royal symbolism whenever convenient has frustrated huge portions of the audience watching this story unfold year after year. And then came the lifestyle brand disaster that exploded across social media this week. Piers Morgan has mocked Meghan's lifestyle projects before, but this latest launch gave critics even more material than usual. Meghan released a luxury Mother's Day collection featuring expensive candles inspired by her children's birthdays, along with gourmet chocolates packaged in elegant pastel-colored boxes. The branding aimed for luxury, exclusivity, and emotional storytelling. But the launch instantly started unraveling online once Serena Williams uploaded the now infamous unboxing video. Serena is arguably Meghan's most famous and loyal celebrity ally, so expectations were high. Instead, the video quickly turned awkward in ways viewers noticed immediately. The chocolates arrived visibly smashed inside the box. Serena openly admitted on camera that she does not even like chocolate that much, then awkwardly tried eating them while forcing compliments at the same time. Then things became even more uncomfortable when she moved on to the candles. Serena attempted to read the scent descriptions aloud, but struggled to pronounce several of the fragrance names properly. Viewers instantly picked up on the awkward pauses and confusion. At one point, she literally laughed through the pronunciation attempt before giving up and simply saying the products look beautiful anyway. The internet exploded within hours because people felt the endorsement looked forced rather than genuine. Piers Morgan's response was brutal and immediate. He argued that if your most famous supporter cannot confidently explain or even pronounce your products while promoting them publicly, the branding itself has already failed. According to him, luxury branding only works when the audience believes the excitement is authentic. And he says this entire rollout looked painfully staged from beginning to end. But the problems reportedly did not stop with awkward marketing clips. Customers online began sharing complaints about products arriving damaged or incomplete. Some candles allegedly arrived without proper wicks inside them, while photos circulated showing labels peeling away from jars almost immediately after delivery. Critics online mocked the launch relentlessly, with many saying the brand looked rushed, overpriced, and disconnected from reality. Piers then pointed toward the numbers, which he says tell the real story more clearly than celebrity headlines ever could. Meghan once had enormous business opportunities sitting in front of her: massive entertainment contracts, global recognition, non-stop media attention, and a level of visibility most public figures could only dream about. Yet according to critics, all of that momentum somehow led to disappointing product launches, weak sales chatter online, and what many describe as a confusing personal brand identity. The clothing platform numbers especially became a huge talking point. Reports circulated claiming only a handful of items had sold, which critics used as evidence that Meghan's commercial influence might not be nearly as powerful as headlines once suggested. Piers did not hold back at all when discussing those numbers publicly. He repeated a line he first said years ago, insisting absolutely no one is buying it, and argued the situation now looks even worse because the warning signs have supposedly been there since the beginning. And then the focus shifted directly onto Prince Harry and what Piers calls the moment everything truly broke behind palace walls. Harry's trip to Ukraine created enormous discussion internationally because he appeared there not as an official representative of Britain, but as a private citizen carrying one of the most famous royal titles in the world. That combination immediately sparked debate over whether he was crossing boundaries tied to diplomacy and royal protocol. During the visit, Harry appeared alongside political figures and spoke publicly about global leadership and support for Ukraine. Critics argued the optics were extremely sensitive because his comments risked being interpreted as carrying royal or national authority, even though he officially stepped away from royal duties years ago. Supporters defended him by saying he was simply advocating for humanitarian causes, but the timing reportedly caused serious discomfort in royal circles. Then came the political fallout. Donald Trump publicly stated that Harry did not speak on behalf of the United Kingdom, which instantly turned the controversy into international headline news. Just days later, King Charles was preparing for one of the most important diplomatic appearances of his reign in Washington. Because of that timing, royal commentators immediately started speculating that Harry's actions had complicated an already delicate political moment for the monarchy. Piers Morgan argued this was the clearest example yet of the tension surrounding Harry's post-royal identity. According to Piers, Harry cannot step away from royal responsibility while still using the weight and influence of royal status during politically sensitive appearances around the world. That criticism intensified after Harry reportedly described himself as working and doing what he was born to do during interviews connected to the trip. For Piers, those words changed everything. He argued that Harry voluntarily stepped away from official royal service in 2020, meaning publicly acting like a representative figure again creates confusion and tension, not only for the monarchy, but for international diplomacy itself. Royal insiders reportedly viewed the situation as deeply frustrating because it blurred lines the palace has spent years trying to clarify publicly. Then came the moment Piers says spoke louder than any official statement ever could. During King Charles's major speech in America, he referenced multiple cities named after members of the royal family throughout history. He mentioned Charleston. He mentioned Williamsburg. But viewers quickly noticed one major omission during the entire section. Harry's name never came up once. That silence immediately became one of the biggest discussion points after the speech. Piers argued the omission was deliberate and calculated, especially because the speech carefully acknowledged other royal connections between Britain and America. According to him, leaving Harry out in such a visible moment was not accidental. It was a public signal from the king himself without needing to directly criticize his son publicly. Royal watchers began comparing the situation to Prince Andrew almost instantly. Last year, King Charles quietly stripped Andrew of remaining privileges, patronages, and official royal connections in what many saw as a final separation between Andrew and public royal life. Now, according to palace rumours discussed by commentators like Piers, questions are growing louder about whether Harry could eventually face a similar distancing process from the institution itself. And that possibility is exactly why the Andrew comparison has reportedly become so alarming for Harry behind the scenes. Because once the monarchy decides someone represents more risk than value to the institution, history shows the palace is willing to move carefully, quietly, and permanently to protect the crown above everything else. When Piers Morgan first started making comparisons between Prince Harry's situation and the downfall of Prince Andrew, a lot of people dismissed it as exaggeration. But after everything that unfolded this week, that comparison suddenly feels a lot heavier and more uncomfortable to ignore. What used to sound like a bold opinion is now being revisited by audiences who are starting to see the situation through a very different lens. Prince Andrew's collapse inside the royal family remains one of the most damaging scandals in modern royal history. The Epstein controversy triggered global outrage, legal battles, and non-stop media attention that forced the monarchy into crisis management mode. Then came the reported multi-million-dollar civil settlement, which only intensified scrutiny and public backlash. Every new development pushed Andrew further away from public royal life until his official standing inside the institution was effectively erased. But Piers Morgan's argument has always focused on a specific difference that he believes changes the entire context of both cases. Andrew, despite everything that happened, never turned around and launched public attacks against the monarchy itself. He never gave a global, televised interview accusing the institution of cruelty or betrayal. He never published a memoir revealing private royal conversations or family disputes. He never transformed internal royal conflict into global entertainment content watched by millions across streaming platforms. Harry, on the other hand, did exactly that on multiple occasions. The Oprah Winfrey interview alone created a global media shockwave that forced the royal family into damage control for weeks. Then came the Netflix documentary, which presented emotional accusations and deeply personal accounts of royal life that reignited public debate across the world. After that, Harry released his memoir, which added even more detail to private family tensions and ensured that royal conflict remained a dominant topic across international media cycles. Piers Morgan summed up the difference in a way that immediately went viral online when he said, "Andrew disgraced himself. Harry declared war." That line spread quickly because it captured how many critics now see the distinction between internal scandal and external confrontation. One remained within palace boundaries. The other became a global media narrative playing out in real time. According to Piers, King Charles has already demonstrated that he is willing to act decisively when the monarchy itself is at risk. When Andrew became too damaging to the institution's reputation, Charles reportedly made the decision to strip him of titles, roles, and public duties in a single, controlled move. There were no public arguments or emotional statements. The removal was quiet, structured, and absolute, designed to protect the institution above all else. Now, increasing attention is turning toward whether similar actions could ever be considered in relation to Harry if tensions continue to escalate over time. Piers believes the machinery, as he calls it, is not theoretical. In his view, the precedent has already been set with Andrew, meaning the monarchy has shown it is capable of making difficult internal decisions when public perception becomes a threat. He argues that Harry has not exactly done anything to reduce that tension either. Instead, through interviews, documentaries, public commentary, and memoir releases, the relationship between Harry and the institution has remained under constant strain. And in Piers' opinion, that sustained public conflict keeps the possibility of further action permanently on the table, even if nothing official is happening right now. Then comes what Piers describes as the most serious and least discussed element of the entire situation: the visa controversy in the United States. Unlike royal family disputes or media criticism, this issue involves immigration law, federal records, and legal accountability, which places it in a completely different category of risk altogether. The Heritage Foundation, a major conservative think tank based in Washington, has reportedly been pursuing access to Prince Harry's US immigration documents through federal court proceedings. Their argument is tied directly to Harry's memoir, where he openly described past drug use involving cocaine, cannabis, psychedelic mushrooms, and ayahuasca. Because those admissions were published publicly under his own name, questions immediately arose about whether that information was fully and accurately disclosed during his immigration process. In the United States, immigration law places strong emphasis on honesty and disclosure, especially regarding controlled substances. Legal commentators have repeatedly noted that failure to disclose relevant information on visa applications can carry serious consequences depending on intent and circumstances. During court discussions, an attorney involved in the case reportedly stated, "If he lied, that gets you deported." People are routinely deported for lying on immigration forms. That statement quickly spread across media coverage because it shifted the conversation from celebrity gossip into legal territory with real consequences. For a long period of time, the Department of Homeland Security reportedly resisted releasing the documents in full. Eventually, a federal judge ordered partial disclosure. When the records were finally released, they spanned dozens of pages, but large portions were heavily redacted. Instead of clarifying the situation, the blacked-out sections created even more speculation and online debate about what information might still be hidden. Piers Morgan addressed the situation cautiously, noticeably more measured than his usual tone, which made his warning stand out even more. He suggested that while nothing immediate may be happening publicly, the situation is not necessarily closed. According to him, under changing political environments, previously quiet legal matters can resurface quickly if interest or pressure increases again. He also pointed out that public and political sentiment surrounding Harry and Meghan has shifted significantly compared to earlier years. In his view, the automatic sympathy and protection they once received in many circles is no longer as strong or consistent as it used to be. That change, he argues, increases the unpredictability of how old legal or administrative issues might be handled moving forward. Then comes the financial angle, which Piers Morgan has always treated as the ultimate reality check behind public narratives. According to him, royal titles, emotional interviews, and global media attention can dominate headlines, but financial stability ultimately determines long-term reality. And this week, that discussion became more prominent again across online platforms. Their Montecito lifestyle was originally presented as a symbol of independence and freedom after stepping away from royal duties. But critics have started re-examining the long-term cost of maintaining that lifestyle. In ultra-wealthy communities like Montecito, homes valued in the tens of millions are typically followed by extensive renovations, costing millions more, as part of the expected lifestyle standard in those circles. However, reports suggest Harry and Meghan moved into their property largely without major immediate structural changes, which some observers interpret differently depending on perspective. While many people see that as normal, Piers argues that within elite financial environments, such decisions can be read as subtle signals about spending priorities and long-term financial strategy. This has led to ongoing online discussion about sustainability, especially when factoring in the cost of private security, staffing, luxury travel, real estate maintenance, branding projects, and media production. Critics argue that maintaining such a high-profile lifestyle requires consistently strong income sources, which may not be as stable as they once appeared. Their entertainment deals have also shifted over time. Spotify ended its partnership. Netflix projects reportedly slowed or evolved away from earlier expectations. Public excitement around new releases is not at the same level it was during the peak of their global media attention. Even supporters acknowledge that the intense early momentum has cooled significantly compared to previous years. Piers argues that their brand was heavily built on continuous royal controversy, but audiences eventually become fatigued when narratives feel repetitive. Over time, public interest naturally declines, even when the names involved remain globally recognizable. In his opinion, that cycle is already visible now as engagement patterns shift and attention becomes harder to sustain. Financial analysts following celebrity wealth trends have also warned that even extremely large fortunes can diminish faster than expected when expenses remain high and income becomes inconsistent. According to Piers, this creates long-term pressure that eventually forces major adjustments in lifestyle, public strategy, and business direction. But underneath all of this sits what Piers considers the most important issue of all: credibility. He traces it back to Meghan's Oprah interview, where he publicly stated he did not believe many of the claims being made. That moment triggered massive backlash, regulatory complaints, and one of the biggest media controversies in British television at the time. Meghan reportedly filed a formal complaint against him, but Piers refused to retract his statements. He defended his position on the basis of free speech, famously saying, "Freedom of speech is a hill I'm happy to die on." That stance ultimately cost him his television role, but he has never backed away from it since. Now, years later, Piers believes recent developments are reinforcing his original concerns. He points to contradictions in public messaging, where different statements about happiness, struggle, victimhood, and success appear across different interviews and platforms over time. In his view, the issue is no longer about one claim or one interview. It is about long-term consistency and whether audiences can clearly understand who Meghan is presenting herself to be. Because when messages constantly shift, public trust becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. According to Piers, that is the real turning point happening now. Not a single scandal or moment, but a gradual erosion of belief over time that becomes harder to reverse once it reaches a certain point. And once audiences stop believing a public figure is consistent, every future statement is automatically viewed with skepticism. He says he paid a heavy price for saying this years ago, but he never changed his stance. And now, he believes more people are beginning to arrive at the same conclusion he reached long before it became mainstream discussion. But my G, the video playing on your screen right now breaks down the one part of this entire story nobody is talking about yet. And once you see it, everything else in this situation starts connecting in a completely different way. Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is still unfolding in real time, and every week adds a new layer to it. And if you want more deep breakdowns like this, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you do not miss the next update when it drops.